Hello, welcome to the Boss It podcast with Mark Edwards and Michael Humblet. This podcast is released every week and is an over-the-shoulder look of a frank and candid discussion between two experienced software executives, providing you with useful tips, techniques, and the latest concepts to help you grow your software business in the fast-paced digital age. So let's get into it. Here is Mark Edwards and Michael Humblet.
This is the Boss It podcast, but it's with a difference. This time you actually get to see us.
I can actually see Mark in
Yes.
his eyes and I'm getting really scared.
This is not some special effect. He's there. He's
I'm
right
actually
in front
there,
of me.
So you all know that Mark is not a virtual AI kind of entity, but is real, can I say native English something?
I don't know what you're going to say. I'm a bit worrying. No, and I've had to travel to Belgium to meet with Michael here, but there was a reason behind it.
Absolutely.
What was your event called yesterday?
So I organized an event and I've called it the very original name called the Mega Secret Humble Sales Club.
What was it called again?
The Mega Secret Humble Sales Club. I can keep saying it. And it's such a crazy word. And I keep asking people, how should I name it differently? And everybody keeps saying, no, it kind of sticks, but it's just really bad for marketing, right? It's crazy. So the idea was very simple. The idea is...
I told you shouldn't call it that.
No, yeah, thank you, Mark. So, but anyway. So the idea is a very simple one.
Yep.
I invite people, founders, executives, CEOs, that kind of level, all of scale-ups that are in the same phase, all like-minded, all having the same problems, and I want them to talk to each other. So in essence, I'm actually having, let's say, 30 to 40 people, it was about 35 people in the room, get them together, let's talk, and I invite speakers, and the speakers go really deep. So traditionally, when you go to an event, it's always like fluffy in their selling.
Yeah,
I'm saying
superficial.
No, and in that,
Yeah.
go deep, ask the tough questions, because it's a tough crowd.
What do you mean by a scale-up? Because I was quite surprised yesterday. I was expecting more people who perhaps were pre-revenue or just started. You had a bit more of a mixture than that. So it'd perhaps be a good idea if you defined what you mean by scale-up.
So for me, let's say it's so they had an idea, they've hired a team, they are more than 10 people, let's say it like that, in average, and most of them needed investment about $1 million, $1.5 million. Some call that a seed round, some an A round. We can debate endlessly, but let's say they have market traction, they have above 15 customers, and you feel they're at the verge of hiring lots of more people, either needing more money, they need to scale, they need to fix the marketing piece, all of these components, and they're really going for the next flow.
So they're coming up against the sort of the real world business problems that you're not getting when you're just in the I'm dreaming up a business
and
stage.
You know what the magic is? It's always the same. You know that founders have been selling themselves and they start realizing they can't keep doing it. So at a certain stage, they need to get the right people in place that they trust so they can scale the business. And that's a very magical moment because up to 10, 15 people, you can still do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
Once you go above, it's not going to work anymore. So they have to let go. They have to trust. That phase is the real scale phase.
Where they've probably got to the stage where they've decided they're not going to grow more by just working longer hours or even harder because they're probably going full out.
But you've seen the crowd. They're all looking tired. They're all looking tired.
That's true.
Their energy is pretty high because by nature they are like that. But they all feel like it's cracking. I need to do something. So I put them together and said, there's something. Some of you have done it. Others haven't done it. Talk to each other.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But there was passion.
Yeah.
The people I was speaking to afterwards, very passionate about their business. Guys, intelligent guys, working hard as well.
Absolutely.
I found it was a really good event.
And then we added some, this community, and then we added some, of course, a fun element. We went VR shooting.
Yes, let's talk all about that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Mark liked it, shooting aliens and zombies and all of that stuff. And I saw him running. Yes, my dear friends of the podcast, I filmed it, I taped him, so we'll have Mark dancing, and we'll do something funny with that later on, Mark.
It was crazy because I presented last, so my mind was a little bit... You're still buzzing a bit from the presentation. So I came from the presentation. I had people talking to me, asking questions, and I really get into that. And then within a couple of minutes, I was in this virtual reality world, and what really hit me was how immersive it was.
Yeah, it's really immersive.
You're there within a few minutes. I was stepping over these virtual objects that weren't there,
And
I was walking to the edge and being afraid, thinking I'm going to fall in the water here. Hang on a minute, this is a virtual world.
And what I saw from the outside is you guys were 5, and you were all huddled together on this rafting moving,
That's right,
and
yeah.
you were like screaming and jumping up and down. And
I wasn't screaming.
No, I agree, Mark. I think I screamed more than you, but it worked really well, and you feel the power. It's not perfect yet, but add a few years, and we're gonna get to some really intriguing stuff.
Well, it really interesting, because I had a chat with the guy that runs that operation, and I know that you know him very well, and I could hear there was some advice that had come from him, because I think what he'd done is he'd taken the technology and he had moved forward. He didn't wait for it to be perfect.
No.
It was good enough. I enjoyed that. If somebody said to me, you've got the opportunity to go back, I'd go back. I could see, especially in the other game, that there were some technology issues, but it was good enough.
Yep.
And he's getting feedback, and he was getting really good feedback as to how he should develop it, which, you know, it brings us back to something that we've discussed before.
The one problem he has is we had a bunch, 35 people, all in software.
All
software
techies.
CEOs, all of them giving their opinion about
can
software.
imagine.
And we're like, the guy was looking at me and like, I don't know if this is such a good idea.
But it's that thing about moving from being a startup to a scale up. You know, we're both advocates of keep it simple, get it done, move forward.
Speed
and
before
speed
perfection.
moving on.
Because you don't know what's going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's all theory, isn't it? Until your customers start to experience it, you don't know. You're making your best guesstimate.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I see a lot of them. I've come across, just recently when I was talking to you in the car when we were driving here, we've come across a number of software entrepreneurs that have been working on their business for several years. No customer's seen it. They haven't sold a penny, and they're still working in theory. Where I would have preferred them to go out and start selling it before their product was finished.
I think you told me that biggest unicorns, the biggest software companies, always start the other way around.
Yeah.
They try and sell like a very small MVP, get it out, and then perfect it as we go along.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, there's not complete uniformity across these unicorns, but there are common denominators that you see time and time again. And when you keep looking at them, you say, hang on a minute, I've seen this. And that is one of them, is that they're moving really quickly. They know the importance of getting real-world customer feedback.
Yeah. And one of the things I want to say to the people listening, a lot of these companies from the outside, they look perfect. They look shiny and nice sites and all that stuff. But I'm in a lot of these companies in the internal, I can tell you, it's a tsunami and things break and it's one big mess while you go. It's very chaotic.
Yeah.
And it gives also a lot of energy because I like to move around this place because the speed is high. But don't be afraid, because if you internally it looks like a mess, it's actually normal.
Absolutely.
Because the moment it's too much structured, you're already past that phase, right? So you want it to
You
be
must
a
have been
bit
listening to
chaotic.
my presentation yesterday.
I kind of pretended at least for 5 minutes.
But exactly the same point that I was making is exactly right, that there will be aspects of that business that's probably in total chaos.
Yeah.
And I think one of the mistakes that you can make as a software entrepreneur is get too focused on the bit that's not working. You've got to be able to make a decision.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the engagement steps that we have is we get our clients to really think hard and long about focus. Okay, so this part of your business isn't perfect, is a bit of a problem. How big an effect will that have overall as to where you're going? Can you move forward?
Yeah.
Is there another area of your business? What are the 3 main areas that you need to focus on? Is that one of them? If it is, then you need to get that sorted damn quick.
Yeah.
But if not, move on. And sometimes that gets sorted on its own. Sometimes time just solves it.
Yeah.
But it's making that decision as to where do I need to be focusing my time.
Yeah, and removing pressure. Sometimes I also think it's good to say, no, I'm not going to go there, leave it, and actually it sorts out itself. Lots of these things.
Yeah, you don't have to solve every single little problem that you see
You
within
must
the
have had
business.
it in sales when you were selling at a certain stage. I have this regularly still. It's like you're pushing and pushing and pushing, and at a certain stage you get to the lake of not rejection but depression, where you think, nobody wants this. And then you think, what am I doing wrong? And then the day after, suddenly 5 people call you and say, out of nowhere, hey, let's do this. And like, hang on, why couldn't this happen like 2 months? It's so weird. And I believe you have to, it's like a varnish, how do you call it? Like you put layers. Statistically, you will win eventually. You just have to keep going at it.
I'll tell you a little secret. I don't think I've ever told anyone this before, actually. Here's a revelation. When I first started in sales, and I was doing a pure sales role, I used to read a lot of Victor Kiam. I don't know if you remember. Victor Kiam was an American.
He must be really old.
He is. He's dead now, actually. He's that old. He's dead.
He's very old.
Actually, I hope he's dead, because if otherwise it's not a bit unkind, but I think he's dead. And he wrote a number of books. And he was quite famous here in the UK because he was on an advert where he was saying, I love the company so much. I think it was a razor. He said, I love the company so much when I use it, I bought it. But one of the sales things that he used to say was that you need to look at this thing about rejection. And I think that's tough for a lot of salespeople. You'd have seen that. You can get into that sea of depression because you're going to get a lot of rejection as a salesperson. But he said there's another way to look at it, is you can work out statistically to get one sale, how many rejects you need to get. And then you need to be able to, what you can do is, you could actually put a figure on every rejection. So if you know you need 10 rejections, if you need 10 rejections and your one sale is worth 100,000,
technically you need 9 for one deal. Huh?
Yeah. So if it's 9 for one, you're selling a sort of software solution. It's 100,000. Each rejection's worth 10,000. And I used to sit when I used to work for Avery, and I used to sit there and I had worked out that every rejection was worth so much, and I used to tick it off, and I used to think that's another one.
So you would,
that's another one.
So they would say no, and you would go bang, another one, 10K in the virtual bank.
In the virtual bank, They didn't have virtual banks in those days.
It's the dopamine factor. A lot of sales. One of the issues that you see, and we talked about it. Actually, if you think about it, it's funny. I see a lot of really, you have closers and non-closers. And what's the difference? It's very simple. The non-closers are happy with the first and the second meeting, and they get the dopamines, and they're happy and say, I'm doing a good job. I'm having all these meetings, but they never pull it to the end. Yeah. The real closer is the guy or girl that gets the dopamine effect when he gets the signed contract. And it's very rare. Actually, very rare you see that.
Yeah.
They're hard to find.
I've seen that.
Where do you get your dopamine?
You're absolutely right. It's an interesting way of looking at it, because I see a lot of salespeople. I've managed quite large sales forces in the past, salespeople, and you can see them coming back from meetings, and it's almost like they're on drugs. I had a great meeting.
Yeah, but
how many meetings have you had? Well, that's the third great meeting I've had with that prospect, and they just have lots and lots of great meetings.
Yeah, and on average, you need large deals, 12 meetings, and there are statistics around that. So it's crazy.
But if they're getting their fix out the meetings and not the close,
no, I agree.
They go around in circles.
Talking about that, maybe we should have a chat about, is there ways of speeding up? Is there ways of within the sales presentation? So, once you do the sales presentation to the closed deal, isn't there a way to make it stronger, to be sure that your sales guys, your team actually do it? Because it's one of the problems I keep getting back at, is people say, I'm the founder, I'm doing a really good job, and then I go to my sales guys and my sales team, and they use other slides, they don't follow the narrative, and they never get somewhere. But when I come into the meeting, I close the deal like on an instant. So so share your wisdom.
We've discussed this one before in the car, haven't we? This is it's a different proposition, isn't it? It's absolutely true, and I've seen that many times where the CEO can go in and close that deal. They will have an easier sales journey than a salesman, because they've got a different title. It's salesman, and he's the CEO. So selling, as you know, is about trust. Are you going to trust a salesman more than you are the CEO of the company?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no.
So immediately, you see, the problem with that is if the CEO of the company that you're talking to believes that he's doing it because he's a better salesman, he could probably close that sale with very bad sales technique, because he's going to get a greater level of trust because of who he is. True. So I'm the end user. I'm the person looking to buy. I've got the CEO of the company. I've got the founder in front of me. Yeah, I feel more confident. He's crap at selling, but I've got him. I've got him here. Any issues, I'm going to come straight back to him.
So this morning we met Tom.
Very interesting.
Yeah, maybe you want to chat because I know Tom for a long while.
Well, no, you give the background because you've known him longer. I mean, we could still be there talking now.
Yeah. So Tom built a company, and one of the things they do is he's trying to solve what we've just been discussing, making sure that all your sales, that everybody in the sales team uses the same story, but on top, he does something really intriguing to speed up the sales process. It's a software he's selling. One of the elements is I wrote it down, cooperative offer building. So while you're at the customer, so he lets you feel the pain in a very visual way, like with graphs and all of that. And then actually he starts building the offer together with you live on the spot. And then with one click of the button, he can send you the stuff. I'm just wondering, because you saw it now, what was your opinion? What do you think?
I think it's the future of selling.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Really. I mean.
And I think as a sales, there is no escape. You have to use the tool, otherwise you can't make a quote. Yeah. That's the intriguing part.
I think it's interesting from a number of respects. Is he's providing a certain level of service to help the client to use a great tool. He's created a great tool, but like any tool, it can be misused. So you put that in the hands. So it's like giving me a hammer and a chisel and expecting me to come up with a great table or something, an inlay table. I couldn't do it. I've got the right tool, but I haven't got the skills. They've produced a tool there that I think could revolutionise the way that sales made, especially with complex sales.
Yeah,
because it can take your customer through the engagement steps that they need to go on. They need to go on a journey with you.
Let's maybe make it a bit tangible more.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah.
People listening to this, I think, what are these guys?
How would you pitch what they offer? How would you?
No. I wouldn't position it. I just want to explain a bit the concept because I want the people listening, maybe they can apply some of these techniques. So one of the tricks they do, for instance, is they have a PowerPoint. I mean, it's a software laying on top of that. So basically, you use a presentation technique. And what they then do is, for instance, let's imagine the case of, let's go with coffee, for instance.
Yep.
Let's take coffee. Yeah. So you're trying to sell coffee. You're a premium brand. You know your coffee is 5 times more expensive than the coffee of your competitor. So you come into a B2B environment, large corporate. You want to sell them coffee machines, coffee, all that kind of stuff, right? It's an easy example. Yeah. So what they do, the first thing is they first try to explain that the impact of bad versus good coffee, the quality moment of people spending time on the machine.
Yeah.
And then they actually make a breakdown of how much time that is, and they make it very visual so that you see that you and I never thought about that properly, that it is much more impactful.
True.
So that's number one, visually. Yeah. And they ask a lot of questions. While they ask the questions, they kind of fill some numbers in live on the screen, and you immediately see dynamically stuff moving and changing. And even if you would fight it, even if you would take really low numbers, it still would be a very realistic impact view. So when I always say, take a problem, deepen it, that's exactly what they do live. Yeah. And it's very strong. And then the next step, of course, is you need to explain what it does, and then you need to do the offer. And then a few very intriguing stuff happens. While they're doing the offer, they actually don't say, this is how much they're going to cost, because any price needs a context. It's context that makes you want to pay more or less, right? That's what a lot of people do wrong. They say, this is my product, it's going to cost you 10K. And it's like, I have no idea what this 10K is, right? So what they then do is they say, okay, for instance, let's take the coffee example. How many coffees are you drinking currently? 1,000, for instance. So they type in 1,000. And say, how many types of coffees are you drinking? 2, 3. And they kind of break it down, and immediately you would see the impact of drinking good quality coffee on those numbers. And you immediately feel like you see two amounts. You see, like, I'm just saying something here, 100K impact, and my product is cost only 30K. So you make the difference in your mind, and you're already almost sold.
Yeah, it's an ROI tool as well.
Yeah.
What's the return on your investment?
Yeah, but the danger with ROI tools.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a when you get down into the detail, and that's where we've just been in our conversation previously. There's a lot of detail there, and it's a really big issue. I suppose what we're trying to do now is we're trying to simplify, so explain to what I'd normally say is listeners, but it's people who are watching us now on this podcast. Yeah, what it is that this company's offering, and I think if you address it from what's the problem, at the top level, the problem is, especially for larger organisations, is you're going to have a team of salespeople that are going out typically with PowerPoint presentations that may have originally been created with a story, with a narrative, and beautifully designed. And then the salesman gets hold of it and they decide, but this customer's different and I've got to add in this slide. And then I'm going to add this and I'm going to add more and more text and I'm going to add points in. A lot of salespeople use PowerPoint or their presentations as a prop, and now you haven't got uniformity. So you've got an issue of salespeople going out with their own version of what the company presentation
Tom had a
is.
word for them. Huh? He said, you always 10 people, when I do this presentation, I show it to 10 people. There's always one, always saying, no, I can do my own slides. And always, they're bad in slides, actually, they're hiding. He said, those are the hiders. Those are the ones you need to really be careful
You're sitting in
with.
the office designing presentations instead of out with the salespeople.
Yeah, exactly.
So a good presentation...
Because they don't do the process. They do
Yeah.
the slides and think, no, I got a good story and it's the customer's problem. No.
I mean, believe me, I have been frustrated for many years with this issue. First of all, I think a really good presentation is just, I talk about it in terms of it's a canvas. It's a canvas. It shouldn't be so detailed so it doesn't work for all of your customers. If you're having to adapt it for each customer, that's a sign that you've gone too far down our iceberg model, what we talk about. Too much detail. You're there to talk and communicate. If you were providing all of the information on that presentation, doesn't have to be PowerPoint, why go? Just email them, read that, or send them a Word document, read it. That is, it's a very visual way of backing up what you're saying.
Yep.
And if you do it right with the right visuals and the right consistent key messages, there really shouldn't be much need for words, and there shouldn't be a need for adapting it every time.
Yeah, and if
so so that's a really big problem. There's a big issue is if you've got salespeople keep adapting it, and you don't want salespeople creating the visuals because that's not their skill. Yeah.
By the way, for smaller companies, they always ask me because the first thing I do, I look at these sales presentations. First thing I do, and I said, let's make sure it's one for sure. And then I want the sales to stick to the slides in the beginning, because if it works, then you have proper skill. If it doesn't work, you need to rework the pitch until you get it perfect. And of course, over time these things change because you get new products, new value props, and markets change. But at least get consistency.
But I see it as a canvas upon which you are selling. So marketing create the frame, the canvas, and then a customer, if you get it right, they will start to visualize their tailored solution. The problems and the issues that they have, if you create it correctly and you don't prescribe it in too much detail, they start to see themselves. They start to see themselves with that solution. When you start getting into too much detail, which salespeople, and especially in the software sector, they tend to do. So they've got all of this information in their head and they want to get it out. Stop doing that. You need to keep it so that the customer understands what it is that they're selling, and then they can imagine themselves in that situation.
I get a good question for you, because they ask me that question every single time. Right. So, Michael, it's all fun and games, your sales narrative, sales pitch. But
I'd say stop.
It's
so right at the core of your business.
I lift my eyebrow, watch them, brace myself, thinking I'm the alpha here. No. And then they say,
"Excuse me, let me explain something."
Yeah,
poking eye.
So hang on. So then they say,
Get real.
But a good sales guy.
Yeah.
2 questions, Mark. Hang on. Hold your horses. A good sales guy doesn't need a presentation. That's one big topic. We can go there. Second one is a good one. But shouldn't they do I call it like the Aristocrates or Aristoteles, I forget the name, one of the two, was it? Ask questions and questions and questions.
Socrates.
So, how many questions should you ask? Let me just, because they always want the tangible. Give me a number. How many questions should you ask? I have a number.
Oh, you do?
You need guidance. I can give guidance. You want guidance? I'm going to give it to you. It's 3. No more than 3 questions. That would be a
What's
dream
3?
scenario. Why? Because I like the number. And 2, I've seen if you ask more questions, you are the expert. You come to me and you keep asking questions. I get nervous after a while. I'm like, dude, I'm sitting here on this table. I've invited you in my precious time. I want you to talk. I have that personally very quickly, and I've seen that. So you need to frame some questions.
Okay, I've got it.
But the other problem that I see some sales guys is they let the customer talk for 20 minutes about all the little shit and I'm not in favor of that. I'm in favor of them talking, but you kind of guide them through the...
Yeah.
Because after 20 minutes, they say, I don't have time left.
So the first question was, shouldn't a salesman be able to sell without the backup of a presentation?
Do they need a presentation?
Okay, so first of all, a good salesman, yes, they could sell in a lift. A good salesman could sell to you on the beach. But could they be better with a great presentation? Of course they could.
I agree. I wouldn't say even presentation. I would say 70 to 80% of all people are visual. So it's good that I see you and you're talking to me, and now I'm looking into your eyes. I'm getting really nervous as time goes along, so I hope this doesn't take too long. But I want to have 2 places to capture your attention. So if I do a story and in the meantime I can make you look to a piece of something, a presentation, a paper, I can guide you right to the conclusion.
But you don't want them reading the words that are coming out your mouth.
A visual,
That's
something
crazy.
strong, a comparison, a one impactful image. That's what I want. So I don't care if it's a presentation or a piece of... I don't care. You know, really good sales guys, B2C sales guys, they actually learn to draw. I've learned that from insurance sales guys. They actually learn to draw backside down.
Yeah.
So, and it's really crazy. And
But they always draw
do the same thing.
triangles.
Yeah, and triangles. They do triangles and they do
Always.
nothing.
It's
They
always gonna be
always do
triangle.
things that go up.
Yeah.
Your money will always go up, whatever happens. Right.
Actually, I think there should be a training school for software salespeople. And what you do is the first day, you just teach them to draw triangles.
Yeah.
That's all you need. I've seen it.
So we should have a new name, the Triangle Drawing School.
Yeah, that's right.
The trial.
So your first question was about salespeople. Shouldn't they be able to sell without a presentation? Yes, but they'll sell better with a good one.
And most
And
salespeople, 80. So
And your
20%.
and what was your second question?
80% of your revenue always comes from about 20% of the salespeople, which is another topic for another podcast. But I think the answer is yes. Make sure you have multiple senses that you use. So I would even give it to the good ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second one was questions.
Oh, how many questions?
How many questions? Too many questions? Would you allow all the questions?
Yeah.
Or what do you do?
Okay,
there?
I wouldn't set it at a number, but I understand you saying
It's a
that
guidance principle.
because I think it's different people and different situations. Okay, so if in the M&A world, if I was going in, I go in. I'm not a salesman. I'm going in as a trusted consultant.
But you asked
and they
2
want
questions yesterday, by the way, in your speech. So you also know it's not too much.
Yeah, and it's different circumstances as well. So I'm talking to a wide audience there, and I'm not going to get answers back that are very detailed about personal details to do with M&A.
Still, one of the questions was, how many partners did you have? I still don't get why you're asking that.
I don't remember that one. So I said that and I was half asleep. But on a one-to-one situation, I think of it a little bit like, actually, I was writing something this morning to do with this. I think of it about the steps as examination, diagnosis, prescription. So
that's actually a nice way of doing it.
If I went to a doctor and I said to him, I've got a pain, and he said, take this, I'd go, hang on a minute.
But
you haven't looked at me.
So, but
how do you know?
Let me refine it. Let me refine it a little bit, because a lot of sales arrive at customers that don't perceive that they have a pain. So it's like you would go to the doctor and the doctor would say, so tell me the problem. So I say, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, it's a latent issue. It's hidden, and you have to develop that situation with them. Yeah. So you are going to need to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I think questioning is better than just sitting there and just telling them where they've got the problem. They need to discover themselves. But also, I think you can overdo it with questions where the person just feels as though they're being grilled. And that's to do with reading body language as well. Yeah. Certain people will like the analytical approach, they like being questioned, but they may also get to the stage where they think, hang on a minute, I've just been hit by question after question after question. This is too much. Yeah. It's got to be a natural conversation. You need The answer really is you need as few questions as is possible, but no fewer. How about that for an answer?
That's an answer.
Yeah.
I like the natural flow.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of sales guys just want to say all the features and say all the stuff they have, and they just want to talk because it feels them comfortable. And actually, you kind of need to get them comfortable.
You've got to be consultative. I think salespeople have got to be. They've got to be problem solvers as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
And they also need to be qualifying the person in front of them. I've spent time to come and see this person. Should I have done it, and do I need to come and speak to them again? Are they a good fit for me?
And actually, sometimes you should say, "I don't think this is gonna work."
No, let's say, "Look, I'm
and then the magic
time.
comes and said, "Let me connect you to somebody that does or da." And at the end, you'll sell to them. It's very, very funny, but you have to be able to do that.
You've got to be truthful. You've got to be honest. You've got to qualify the person. And I think if you do that, and you do it in a respectful way, you will maintain that respect, and they might refer you on exactly as you've said.
Never, ever say, "I'm really sorry, but I really need this deal to make my quota or my number." Man,
God. I've had people say that to me.
I know. That's why I'm saying. So I'm looking deep in your eyes, and I see the frustration, and I'm like, "Sorry, but it's not going to work like that."
Yeah.
These typically very junior. By the way, very junior profiles. Do this kind of stuff. So if you, as a manager, push them really, really hard, that's something that could happen.
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that are managing salespeople actually should do the opposite. They believe you've got to go and whip salespeople to get the best from them. No, you've got to go and remove some of their problems. You've got to get off your ass and really do some work yourself, and you've got to help these salespeople, because salespeople don't come to work every day to fail. They want to hit their targets.
Although we just said rejection, teaching 10K.
Yeah, yes, that's that. In that respect, but that was a mini goal to reach the main objective, wasn't it? That was to get to the main goal. But it worked for me because it was a way of overcoming rejection. Yeah. And I think that's something that the managers of salespeople need to be really cognizant of, is the fact that if you're out there, and they maybe not be, taking that rejection day after day, it could be tough. You need to help them. You need to help them to overcome that.
Mark, I have to say one thing.
Uh-oh.
I think you've been
There's
watching...
time's up, actually.
I wanted to say, you've been watching way too long in my eyes. I'm getting really nervous. I want to get out. Can I go home?
You can, yeah. Time to go. So, that was the Boss It podcast, but the video version. It's nice to be here in Belgium, and something a little bit different. Thanks very much, Michael.
Thanks, Mark.